The first time I walked into a Kingdom Hall, when I was 16, I saw this chart on the stage. And I realized this organization is concerned about what we do, what we say, and how much we say about Jehovah. I realized that from the start, so that after the third month of studying, when I started going out in field service, I wanted to turn my time in too. And they showed me how to do it, and I've been turning it in ever since.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we know what the big announcement is now. Has nothing to do with the Great Tribulation or Armageddon.
Well, I have an announcement. While I was off recording Elk this morning, you saved me some coffee.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And did you enjoy your hunting trip with your brother in Arizona?
Yes.
Yeah. That's where he's been.
Yep. It's a much needed getaway time. But you know, the thing is, with this 2023 annual meeting, it's going to have unintended consequences for Watchtower. Just want to remind everybody, years ago, I stated on this channel that they're going to have to re-identify because the previous business model has collapsed. And these are some of the adjustments that the new business of Jehovah is changing. Sort of like it's now okay for a Jehovah's Witness to vote. It's a conscious matter. It's now okay for a Jehovah's Witness to take blood fractions. That's a conscious matter. And now Jehovah's Witnesses, rank and file, don't have to report the amount of time they spend in the door-to-door or preaching work. All they are required to do is check a box. So Jehovah's Witnesses, your self-worth is no more than that of checking a box. Whereas years ago and decades ago, a Jehovah's Witness self-worth was measured by how much time they put in the field ministry. So let's explore this even further.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's play the clip of the actual announcement and the way Herd did this in the annual meeting. But the announcement is also on jw.org. You just go to the jw.org and click on news, and it's right at the top. And I'm going to play the clips, and then I'm going to read the announcement itself, and then we'll discuss all of this.
Can you imagine Jehovah judging an Israelite unfaithful because his tenth was less than another person's tenth? Of course not. Everyone's circumstances and abilities are different. Brother Loesch explained that although tithing was a requirement in ancient Israel, Jehovah did not require others to monitor or keep track of each person's tithe. Tithing was entirely between the individual Israelite and Jehovah. The governing body believes this same principle can be applied when it comes to reporting our time spent in the ministry. Our ministry involves much more than counting time. For this reason, we are pleased to announce that beginning November the 1st, 2023, congregation publishers will no longer be asked to report the amount of time they spend in the ministry, nor will publishers be asked to report their placements, the videos they show, or their return visits. Instead, the field service report will simply have a box that will allow each publisher to indicate that he or she shared in any form of the ministry during the month.
There's a lot in there that we can dissect, but let me read the announcement real quick. Breaking news, adjustments to field service reporting. On October 7, 2023, at the annual meeting of the Watchtower Bible Tract Society of Pennsylvania, the following exciting announcement was made. Beginning November 1st, 2023, congregation publishers will no longer be asked to report the amount of time they spend in the ministry, nor will publishers be asked to report their placements, the videos they show, or return visits. Instead, the field service report will simply have a box that allows each publisher to indicate that he or she shared in any form of the ministry during the month. There will be one more box where publishers can report the number of different Bible studies they conduct. Missionaries, circuit overseers and their wives, special pioneers, regular pioneers, and auxiliary pioneers will continue to report the number of hours they spend in the ministry, along with the number of different Bible studies they conduct. Further information about this adjustment will be provided to all congregations in the coming weeks. So this class of, slaves for the organization, even down to auxiliary pioneers, still have to report their time. So basically everyone is still going to be filling out that time report each month. It's just don't have to give actual numbers. Publishers, the lowly publishers don't have to give their actual time.
And I really liked what K.M. Marie said in her video regarding this subject. They're creating a class distinction. Because remember, it wasn't too long ago, friends, when a Watchtower article came out talking about false brothers. Well, those false brothers were perhaps those not putting much time in field service, maybe not being regular at the meeting. And now that the organization, or that at least your local congregation, doesn't have clue one as to how much time the rank and file spend, they have no way of knowing who really is a false brother or not.
Yeah. And it's interesting the way Hurd announced it, because he was talking about tithing and, even though we don't tithe anymore, but, we wouldn't want to judge somebody with what they are giving to Jehovah, what their gift for Jehovah. What about all these years? So many times our family got grief from elders about the amount of time we were putting in field service. My daughter, when she was regular pioneering, fell and got hurt, and she wasn't able to make her time. The grief they gave her. I was working full-time supporting 2 pioneers. The grief I got for not getting that much time in service. So, like you said, they just have to reinvent themselves as a kinder, gentler cult.
Yeah, exactly. And what Kim's about to read here comes from the organization book, and this is a stance that Watchtower has published in every single one of their organization books throughout the years. So you're reading this from the
I got the updated 2021 organization book.
Yeah, because I actually went back to the previous organization books to recover this information so that everybody can recognize, everybody should recognize how much of a gaslighting operation this whole field service thing has been, and it's going to continue to be a gaslighting operation.
Yeah, exactly. So, it actually starts on page 82, like I said, in the 2021. And on page 83, there's a subheading at the top, Congregations Publisher Record. Your individual field service report for each month is recorded on Congregations Publisher Record. These records belong to the local congregation. If you plan to move to another congregation, please be sure to inform your elders. See, and that's how they judged publishers, ministerial servants, elders, pioneers, about the amount of time they got. They were after him. If you want to become a ministerial servant, you need at least 10 hours a month. That was their gauge, if not more.
You gotta be above average. Well, now that all you rank and file members have to do is just check a box, how are you now above average?
Yeah.
See, this is gonna have unintended consequences for the new development of this organization.
Yeah, exactly. Page 83, why we report our field service. Do you sometimes forget to turn in your field service report? No doubt all of us need occasional reminders, but if we cultivate the right attitude toward reporting and understand why doing so is so important.
Not anymore.
Yeah, even back in 2021, it was so important. It may...
And just kind of listen to what Watchtower, or how they're using the identity of Jehovah to gaslight people.
Yeah. Paragraph 32. Some have asked, since Jehovah knows what I'm doing in his service, why do I need to put in a report to the congregation? And we know of a brother over in Arizona. That was his beef.
Yeah.
And he actually ended up waking up and leaving because he kept telling the elders, why do we need to count time? Jehovah knows what amount of time I'm putting in. Well, they just marked him as a rebel and started shunning him. True. Jehovah knows what we are doing, and he knows whether our services hold soul or just a token of what we are really able to do. Remember, however, that Jehovah recorded the number of days that Noah spent in the ark and the number of years that the Israelites journeyed in the wilderness. God kept account of the number of those who were faithful and those who disobeyed. He recorded the progressive conquest of the land of Canaan and the accomplishments of the faithful judges of Israel. Yes, he recorded many details regarding the activities of his servants. He inspired this written record of what took place, making clear to us his view of keeping accurate records.
And he also recorded that he was the one that caused David to take the census. Bear that in mind. He also recorded, oh, that's right, he also recorded that contradiction too. And he also had Watchtower record that they changed the word when he to when one caused David. You Jehovah's Witnesses don't get it.
Yeah. Paragraph 33, they just give a whole lot of Bible scriptures and more examples.
Gaslighting.
To show how important this record keeping was to Jehovah. Okay? 34. Although our reports obviously do not include all that we do in our worship of Jehovah, they serve a practical purpose within Jehovah's organization. It was the organization that wanted the record keeping so that they could brag about over 1 billion hours on every year's service report.
Yep.
Yeah. In the first century, when the apostles returned from a preaching campaign, they reported to Jesus all the things they had done and taught. But they didn't have to keep time. At times, reports may indicate that certain aspects of our ministry need particular attention.
What is your worth in the field ministry if it's not based on calculation of time any longer?
Yeah. The figures may show that while there has been progress in some activities, other areas such as publisher increase or growth have slowed down. And that makes me wonder if it hasn't slowed down so much that they do not want to even put it on the service report. They don't even want anybody to know how much the time has gone down, slowed down. It could be that encouragement is needed or that problems have to be resolved.
I'll name such a possible problem right here, right now. What if in some country the government's coming down on Watchtower for forcing children to go in the door-to-door work, and that is now being qualified as perhaps child abuse? But think about this, friends. In order to become a baptized member of the Jehovah's Witnesses, you have to be actively participating in the door-to-door work. And in fact, you used to have to answer questions to even become and have the announcement made that you are an unbaptized publisher. I am really beginning to wonder, Kim, if this doesn't have anything to do with Watchtower losing some of their monetary benefits from other countries, because we already know that they changed Jehovah's law on voting to maintain or get legal recognition. We also know that they changed Jehovah's perspective on accepting blood fractions to get legal recognition. And I guarantee you, it may not happen now, may not happen a month from now, but sometime in the future we're all going to find out that this change has been made because some country is breathing down their neck because they're forcing children to go out in the door-to-door ministry. but that is a prerequisite of getting baptized. So I wonder how many child baptisms are going to still be produced when they don't have the required numbers of hours in field service. Oh, wait a minute, I correct myself. Now it just becomes a matter of checking a box for that 7-year-old to get baptized.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, while you were in Arizona and I was busy painting, there was some news that came out about the non-knocking preaching they're going to be doing. And their PR guy, Hendricks, he was announcing it on the news and all of this. So they're not even going to be knocking on doors anymore. And it's like, well, we seen that coming. When they started having JWs attacked, and that one that was even killed back east, while they were out in field service. So we knew that was going to happen eventually. Yeah. They were going to get rid of the door knocking and, just go to like the public and letter writing and carts.
You know what I see? A kinder, gentler corporation that Jehovah is using.
Yeah. And I just wanted to finish the last sentence here on page 84. Reports are also beneficial to the organization in determining just where there is a greater need for workers.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They don't care.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Abel for letting me use his saying, because he said when you listen to it, it's like, okay, if it's scriptural now not to count time, so does that mean for the past 70 or whatever years they have been counting time, that wasn't scriptural? So good point.
Well, it's absolutely gaslighting.
It is.
And that's what narcissists do. They gaslight you. It's so simple. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
What's happening right now. And I attribute this in large, not so much social media or the internet per se, but more specifically YouTube. Because now you can see the faces that are attached to the voices. Now you can feel the energy that some put forth in doing this. You can now live it and breathe Watchtower's demise through the ex-members.
See, and all of us are gathering information. All of us are getting this information out to the public and to the XJWs. And we're all looking for this stuff and getting this information and the latest news. And many of us are contacting courts, lawyers, governments, the UN. There was an XJW that even went and talked to the UN about the shunning policy. So I think the way I feel is we're going to be seeing some more changes in the future. I think this next year is going to bring some major changes with Watchtower, because they're going to have to change a lot of this.
Yeah.
Just so they can keep their NGO status in the UN. And, they go to the UN as an NGO to cry that they're being banned in, I think it was 34 countries. And they're, trying to fight that. Well, then all of us are contacting these same UN and OSCE and all of these and saying, wait a minute, you can't fight for them being banned in 34 countries while they are trying to shut all of us up and telling their members to shun all of us. So you can't have your cake and eat it too, Watchtower.
Well, there again.
They try.
Well, there again, they will continue to gaslight even if it's a public official.
Yeah.
They will gaslight because that's who these people are. That is who is in control of these people. And it's really amazing to me when people are gaslit. It drives them insane. It drives them batty. And that's why there's so much mental anguish among Jehovah's Witnesses today, because of this constant gaslighting. What is it? Do we vote? Do we not vote? Do we take blood fractions? Well, God changed his mind. No, it wasn't God. It was the organization, because they are a business, and I said this years and years and years ago. If you want to be effective against Watchtower, stop going after them from a religious perspective. You need to attack the business, because they are a business and nothing more and nothing less. They are a business pretending to speak for God, and they miss one little simple thing. Who really is the faithful and discreet slave that Jesus asked in Matthew or whatever book it was? The Apostle Paul answers that in Romans chapter 13. It's the government. Go back and read what Paul says. There is no authority except for the authority that God allows to have. And Romans 13 plainly points out that it's the government's. Be obedient to the superior authorities. That's the government's. So Jehovah's Witnesses, when you disobey the government, you're really disobeying God's appointed servant.
You just did a spoiler for your next video. Yes,
Well,
he's working on that video.
Well, it's done and over with now. The whole thing is, Kim, is that I have long recognized that when you and I sit down and do a video, we get a lot more views than either myself doing a video. So I put it right here so that everybody can comprehend it. The superior authority, that faithful and discreet slave, at least according to the Apostle Paul, are the superior authorities mentioned at Romans 13, because Paul specifically states that they are put in place to be God's public servants, not this bullshit governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses.
So the governments are the faithful slave.
The government is the faithful and discreet slave, and like Jesus said, if and when he returns, if he finds that slave beating the house, and that's exactly what the governments are doing now. That's exactly what the governments are doing now, and they forged a marriage alliance through the Nicene Council. So it's a joint effort.
There's your dual world power.
There's your dual world power. It's not difficult when you break the nonsense that Watchtower teaches. And I can absolutely say this is nonsense, because look at what we're exposing now. Complete gaslighting.
Yeah, and Watchtower thinks they're the faithful and discreet slave, but guess what? They're beating on the slaves, fellow slaves.
Well, yeah, just like the government's doing. But yet the Apostle Paul says that Satan keeps transferring himself into an angel of light. Well, guess what, friends? Evil is light. When you're following what Watchtower is doing and recognize how evil they are in their shunning policy, flip-flopping of doctrines, they are really evil light personified.
Well, if you look up the definition of Lucifer,
Light bearer. Yeah. Evil is light. Thank you, Dennis Prager, for that comment.
yeah, I was really surprised.
I was very surprised. That's
Because
like,
he's a gung-ho Christian.
well, he's Jewish.
Jewish.
Yeah, he's Orthodox Jewish, and he was making that point about how the Christians have named Lucifer the light bearer, and Christians know that Lucifer is another name for Satan. And yet the Apostle Paul says what I just quoted. Satan keeps transferring himself into an angel of light. Evil is light.
Switched around, just like everything is.
Like
what is
everything
good
else.
is bad, and what's bad is good.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's not difficult, friends. You just have to think it through. Be willing to think it through.
Well, thank you everybody for watching, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.